This is the Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Detroit is the greatest!
Straight up light you on fire for a Coney dog right now.
Darren McCarty comes back with Neiman in front of him. McCarty draws. McCarty in. McCarty scores! A magnificent goal! Darren McCarty!
Stafford takes, throws, end zone, Calvin, touchdown, Detroit Lions!
What's up, everybody? It's another episode of the Motor City Sports Rant on the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. As always, I am Jason Jarvie. Follow me on Twitter at Jarvie the King. And also with me today is a guy who is not going to vote in this presidential election, John the Doc Macaroon. How's it going?
It's going great, buddy. It's election day. I'm looking forward to having a chat regarding all the events going on in Detroit sports. Looking forward to podcasting with you. You look refreshed coming off of your vacation. And yes, you are correct. I unfortunately, don't have the time, man. I'm going from 6:30 all the way until 9. The doc is super duper busy. Now, you know what? Next election cycle, I will be like Tom Brady and just get an absentee ballot and punch the hole and see what happens.
See, but you actually have to register to vote first to do that, John.
You know what? I think it's time, based upon my schedule, that I'm going to put out on Craigslist. I'm going to put out on Indeed, Monster.com. It's time for the doc to get an assistant. It's time. I cannot handle anymore the day-to-day responsibilities that I have each and every day. If I showed you my schedule and what I got to do with the things that I'm working on, forget about it, man. I'm working harder than Donald Trump himself. I know he's going from state to state to state every day, but I'm doing more.
I think that it might actually be true because I'm not sure if Donald Trump knows what he's actually doing. I think he just goes up there and just starts saying whatever is on the top of his head. And it makes absolutely no sense a lot of the times.
Have you been into this whole election cycle? Are you paying attention? Are you kind of watching CNN, seeing what's going on?
I've watched we watched all the debates, which is it's a first for me. I think in previous elections I've watched maybe one or a part of a couple debates, but this one I think because it was so divisive. It's must-see TV to see what Donald Trump is going to do and how Hillary Clinton is going to be able to follow it up. But by the end of all there were 3 debates, and by the end, pretty much midway through the third debate, I was done. I mean, I was done. I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, and I think what he does, it looks dumb. And that's just my opinion. And I don't think if you are a Trump supporter, I don't say you're dumb because of it, but I think you should look into it a little bit more. But anyways, back to the debates.
People of this country are furious.
They're mad at you, Jason.
They're mad at me. But anyways, by the end of the third debate, I was tired. I was already tired of Trump, but then I was tired of Hillary Clinton because she just gave it turned into there wasn't any debate. It was just going back and forth of Trump attacking and Hillary trying to counterattack, and the election kind of got lost. And I think the people really are the ones that are going to suffer from this election.
Well, go out there and do your thing. It's Tuesday. It's election day. And again, no matter what, the number one thing that's most important to me is, hey, go vote freely. If you know somebody and you're a strong Hillary supporter and you know somebody that's voting for Trump, just allow them to practice their democratic right to go out there and vote and don't harass anybody. Listen, at the end of the day, discussing politics is supposed to be fun. I mean, old timers in the Middle East would sit around with a hookah, playing some backgammon and just talking politics. But nowadays it's gotten to the point where people are so passionate about it that it's limiting a little bit the nature of free speech, where some people are not even willing to discuss who they want to vote for, who they support, because the people on the opposite side are so angry and so insulting of your opinion. But hey, this is a free country. If you decide to go vote for, if you write in a candidate, I mean, somebody yesterday, they showed on CNN, voted in Mitt Romney. They wrote him in. You can vote for whoever you want. It's a free country. That's what makes us great. And don't hate on people who who have a differing opinion than you. And that's what I like, is that I surround myself with people with all kinds of different personalities and opinions and that are vastly different than me. And that makes for a lot of fun debates and makes for an interesting conversation. And look, I told you my stance and you didn't get up and leave. I mean, you had to bring it up here, which was not authorized, but that's fine. That's okay. That's what we do.
It's your right. Hey, it's your right.
Exactly.
If you want to vote, you can vote. If you don't want to vote, and I said that, in which I fully support. If somebody doesn't know the issues and they don't know why you want to vote for Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump, then if you don't want to vote at that point, then I fully support that, because I think an uninformed voter is pretty much just the same as just going in blind and marking one of the candidates.
That's right, sir. I put on a poll on our Twitter page at Detroit Podcast. What are you most looking forward to ending right away? I had two things right now that are sweeping the nation: the mannequin challenge and the 2016 election. And right now, 70% early voting have said that they're tired of this. And because of all the negative ads, what's happened is basically on the sports stations, on all the channels that we watch, it's just a bombardment of why both candidates are not qualified.
Yep.
And so 70% of people are ready for this to be over, because really, in terms of the politics this year, it's a nasty business. And both candidates kind of got into it, whether they were dragged into it or not. But the commercials were just, that guy, my opponent stinks, or Hillary stinks, and this is what I'm going to put out there on a commercial. And it was just unfortunate, because I would have liked it to have been a little bit more above board, but it wasn't. At points in time for me, it was a little bit more about entertainment in terms of watching the debates, but it's going to be over soon. By the end of this evening, we will know who will be the next president. And either way, I do believe that, this government system that we have is the best in the world, and we will move on. With all the challenges that the country has, we're still a great country. We will move on, and we'll be free to continue to watch and debate what's going on in the world of politics. It's interesting to talk about.
Definitely, and I agree. Regardless of who wins tonight, it's going to be an interesting 4 years. And if anything, I think this has changed politics. This is going to completely change the next election. Because I honestly don't see either of these candidates winning a re-election. So it's going to be interesting to see what the next, is it going to be the same? Is it going to go back to just a regular debate between two politicians? Because I don't think that's what it's going to go back to. I think you're going to see more people, because Trump is essentially just a guy with a bunch of money who went out and started running for president. I mean, what's to say that other people couldn't do that? And I think there are people out there who could be in an interesting position who would actually be a success at that. And I don't know. It'll be an interesting. I think 2020 election is going to be even more interesting.
Mm-hmm, very much so. Now, Jason, are we going to do the mannequin challenge at the podcast network? Should I get all the crew, all 8 guys, and set it all up and just have you all sitting here in the studio trying to act like that?
I think it would be interesting if you could actually get us all together.
Yeah, that's true. Oh, look at you, fumbling with the mic.
Fumble.
Look at you. Give a guy a vacation and doesn't know how to run the system, man. Come on.
Whatever. I was at the happiest place on earth.
Was it a good vacation overall?
It was a very good vacation. The only, really, we didn't have any issues. I think Saturday or Friday night there was a little bit of rain, which it was more just kind of funny, and it was a memory to have. And then there was some issues getting our bags on the way back to Detroit, but otherwise we had great weather, and it was just relaxing, and it was good to just kind of unwind for a little while.
Well, sir, we're now firmly implanted in the fall. Lots of great storylines to discuss here on this podcast episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. Let's go right into it, man. The Lions came back again.
Are
you surprised, Jason?
I'm not surprised.
Each of the 9 games they've been behind in the fourth quarter. The only other team that's been behind in every fourth quarter is the Browns, and they've lost every game. The Lions have come back 5 times of the 9 games, and it was just an amazing situation. But one that I want to tell everybody to relax, because everyone is really, really overreacting to the Lions being 5-4. I told everybody, and we've told everybody at this podcast network, just relax, go game by game. Like Caldwell said at his weekly presser, that he's not looking ahead to the fact the schedule lightens up in the next couple of weeks. He said, hey, relax, everybody. We're just focusing now on the bye week and Jacksonville. That's what we're going to focus on. But now you're getting talks of, Stafford should be MVP. All the Stafford supporters are coming out. Everyone's like, hey, this could be a Cubs-type situation where the Lions could be a team that gets to the Super Bowl or has a run. Now, I've played it up a little bit with the hashtag Why Not Us on our Twitter page, but realistically, my point of view is with the Lions, just enjoy them week to week, see them improve, but this football team, the 2016 version, has a lot of flaws, and the schedule that they're playing, and what I saw yesterday in the Monday night matchup, Seattle versus Buffalo, dictates to me what the biggest mistake that Minnesota made late in that game, and we'll talk all about it. But for just to start off, the Lions won the game. It was very efficient. It's nice to see, but there were a lot of factors that were contributing to the Lions coming away with that victory.
Yeah, totally. And I think another good question is, I texted you. I said, once they kicked that field goal to tie it up, I said, that's so Lions, because that's what they are. That's what they have been this season, is they've done the improbable. Because after Minnesota scored that late touchdown to go up, I'm like, this game's over. We didn't have any timeouts, and they're going to kick it, and we're not going to be able to get down the field. But in the back, as soon as I said that, I was like, you know what? It's not that bad. We have 23 seconds left, and we probably we get the ball to 25. You only have to go about 25 yards. And what did they do? They went 25 yards. And I was surprised that they were able to stop the clock. And then Matt Prater does what Matt Prater does. He kicks the ball a long way, ties the game, sends it into overtime. We get the ball behind our 20. And I think there's a stat out there that when there's teams down with less than 30 seconds left by 3 points and they get the ball inside their own 20, since 2001, those teams have been 0-98. And we just changed that all. We're now the one team who has won that. So it's, is same old Lions actually changing? Same old Lions used to be, we used to find a way to lose. There was just a way that, we're going to throw a later interception. We're going to turn it over on downs. We're going to get a penalty called, turn over a touchdown. Is same old Lions slowly changing to, we find a way to win late in games?
That's unbelievable.
It is a little bit unbelievable, Matt
No,
Stafford.
Jason, let me break it down for you. Listen, the league is set up for parity. Okay, what's devastating
Except for the Lions.
Except for the Lions. They were not able for a decade to put together a decent draft. The organization as a whole made the biggest mistake in terms of going out and getting Matt Millen to run the organization. This is a league, Jason, that's full of parity. And so what's intended to happen is you could basically, if you have a decent organization that knows how to run a draft, you're going to be around 8-8 every year. And so you need a couple breaks here and there to go 10-6. And then once you maybe establish some talented front office people and draft well, then you can be a perennial superstar team, maybe get to 11-5, 12-6 year in, year out if you have that superstar quarterback. The Lions right now, when you say SOL, I go same old league. Right now, the reason why the Lions are playing so well and the reasons why that you're seeing things differently is the opponents are playing so craptastically bad against the Lions. They're running plays, they're running schemes against the Lions that are totally inappropriate. So when I was talking earlier, last night at the tail end of the Monday night game, I'm watching the Bills and the Seahawks. And the Bills get a couple opportunities late to come back. Okay, they're down 31-25 or so, and they're driving. And so I'm looking, okay, when Minnesota was trying to stop the Lions, what was Minnesota doing? Their corners were 15 to 18 yards back, allowing them, and that play to Andre Roberts, all Andre Roberts had to do was basically run to the middle, he's wide open. What Seattle did, if you look at what happened on Monday night, Seattle, each and every play had their corners up, playing press. And what they did was they blitzed Tyrod Taylor, and on several occasions his throws were rushed, and he was able to get down the field, getting some open plays because he's shifty and crafty like that. But more often than not, his timing was disrupted because of the pressure. The Seattle Seahawks did not go into prevent defense, and I would argue that Minnesota did not prepare the defensive scheme anywhere near what you needed to do. All you had to do was pressure Matthew Stafford. He's not going to get the ball down. He was, prone to be sacked.
I think those are two different situations, though. With the Bills, you have a Tyrod Taylor who's more of a mobile quarterback. He's not known as a passer. And then look at their wide receiver situation. Their number one receiver right now is Robert Woods, who at best he's a number 3 on good teams. And then they have Marquise Goodwin, Justin Hunter. They have nobody at wide receiver. So, yeah, a team like Seattle, who has probably some of the best cornerbacks in the league, you have Richard Sherman, they can afford to press them and then rely on their linebackers and defensive line to put pressure on Tyrod Taylor. The Vikings, we have better wide receivers. You have Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, Anquan Bolden. All three of those guys, you can run a slant to, and Matt Stafford can pick you apart all day long. So I get where they're going with the prevent, because they're trying, or not the prevent, but they're giving him some coverage because they don't want to get beat, because the possibility is also there, if they are playing right up on them, that Marvin Jones and Golden Tate could beat them and then get to the outside, and then you're looking at a long touchdown.
But in the end, you lost the game anyway because your defense wasn't able to stop the Lions in overtime. Mike Zimmer mismanaged the clock. You have their kicker, Blair Walsh, who's, last year cost them a playoff game. He somehow keeps his job, and this year is missing extra points. He doesn't miss that extra point. It's a moot point. The Lions don't have an opportunity to come back because that tying touchdown for Minnesota, that late touchdown, puts them ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I would put more on the kicker that they missed that extra point. Yeah, you're right. It'd be a completely different story. We would have had to try to get a touchdown, but Jason, instead of going for just a field goal.
And I told Adam this. Right now, we're a 6-3, 7-2 football team with a 5-4 record. Okay, so things are not all gravy with the Lions. You have a situation.
I put that all on the coach.
Exactly.
That's all on Jim Caldwell.
Exactly, and I don't know whether he believes that every game should be this tight, but each and every game is very tight because they've neutered Matthew Stafford. It's a dink and dunk offense that you're seeing. They take chances. They just haven't been executing as often. Marvin Jones, in the deep threat, has been taken care of in the last couple games. You see that, and you said it yourself. The Lions are having success because Golden Tate has emerged as a leader. And I would give Caldwell a little bit more credit. He did rile up the troops with, watch me, in the speech that he said on Saturday. He came out and everyone said that. He's come out and rallied the troops and said, hey, be the guy that's going to make the play. Be the guy that everyone's going to watch. Watch me. And I like that. I like the fact that he's trying to rally the troops. But what I'm saying is the scheme offensively right now is very basic, and they're not doing a lot of things to allow Matthew Stafford to turn the ball over because maybe they are fearful that he might make throws like he made that horrible throw.
But why can't you get away with dinking and dunking and holding on to the ball and dominating time of possession and winning low-scoring games, win 17-14. I don't care if that's what you do. Golden Tate has shown that he's the number one wide receiver. And I texted you that the main difference between those first 4 games where they looked absolutely horrible, when they were 1-3, I was predicting this team to win 4 games. The difference now in the last 5 games where they're now, 5-1 or 4-1, is that Marvin Jones was the focal point of the offense there, which that is probably the old mentality when we had Calvin Johnson, is that let Matthew Stafford throw the ball up to a big wide receiver and try to win games like that. But in reality, we play safer when we throw the ball 3 yards to Golden Tate and let him make plays, because that's what he does. His touchdown, his game-winning touchdown, is probably one of the most. In recent histories, one of the most amazing touchdowns I've seen is that he catches the ball, breaks 2 tackles. The dude has the strength to get around. Golden Tate is our number one wide receiver, and that's been the biggest difference in these last 5 games, is that Golden Tate has been the most targeted wide receiver. You can say that Ebron and Riddick have also been targeted as much as him, but the focal point and the wide receiver has been Golden Tate, with compliments of Marvin Jones and Anquan Bolden.
And the fact is, you're getting some of the horses back. Ziggy Ansah's progressing.
He hasn't gotten a sack yet, though.
Hey, but he contributed to that Kerry Hyder sack late in the game, and he's able to do some things right now. Even though he's not the one getting the sacks, he puts a lot of pressure on opponents' offensive lines. But what I'm saying for the Lions is at this point in time, they are a squad that's kind of patchwork at this point in time in terms of trying to overcome a myriad of injuries on the defense. And they're trying right now to do the best that they can to compete. And in 9 games, they've won 5 of them, and they've lost 4 of them. But what I'm saying is everyone's talking like this is a football team that could be contenders in the playoffs, that could do a lot of things in the division. You got to remember that at the time you played Green Bay, They weren't playing that well. They came and beat you. You played a Bear team, and they're going to be better off now if they get some of their horses back. They're playing a little bit better as we see the season progress. So for everyone to come out and be like, hey, this is a solid, football team, there's a lot of room for improvement is all I'm going to say.
There's a lot of room for improvement, but I think it's also not fair to say that this team is completely out of the playoffs now. Where's all your positivity, John? A couple weeks ago, you were like, man, come on, you got to stay on this team.
I'm saying don't not watch them. I'm saying don't be Lions free. I'm saying be objective.
I was never going to be Lions free, and I was always objective. And now you're the one who's saying you need to slow your roll on this team, that they're not actually this good.
What I'm saying is, objectively, what I want to see is DeAndre Levy back on the field.
You're not going to see that.
He's going to come back. He's going to come back. I'm telling you. I want to see what this football team looks like when Darius Slay's healthy, when they have their full allotment of talent available to play. Then we'll see what happens. Remember that you have to factor in a lot of other things when you say, how good is this Lions football team? Right now, I would say I believe that if everybody was healthy, if they played a little bit better, if their schemes were a little better, you could legitimately say they're a 7-2 team. But with coaching, with the injuries, with the schemes that are a little bit too conservative, and Terrell Austin's defense not playing as great as you would like, you're seeing them at 5-4. And so that's what I'm saying is that going forward is great. The schedule is shaping up to be something that's awesome. And that the next 2 games, you have the bye week this week, then you go play Jacksonville at home, follow that up 4 days later with Minnesota at home, and they're not playing that good. A couple more wins are possible. But what I'm saying is the question is, how do I rate this Lions team? I think that we need to just slow down and enjoy what they're doing.
Where do you rank them? In 1 to 32, where would you put them?
I would put them probably between 10 and 15.
I think that's very accurate. I think they're in the top 16.
Yep.
At 5-4, they're just over 500.
Yep.
And they have the ability. They've shown that they have the ability to compete with the better teams in the league.
They can compete. Now, what is going to be a factor in terms of them getting over the hump? They got to, probably be a little bit more creative on offense. They need more from Marvin Jones. They need more from Eric Ebron. They need more from the running game. And they need less mistakes on the defense. But that, the defense, I don't blame as much. I don't have as much vitriol or anger towards that defense because they're injury-ridden and they're playing guys that are still new to the team. They're playing guys that are a lot of young guys that were drafted. And, when your superstars like Darius Slay, DeAndre Levy, Ziggy Ansah miss time, then you're counting on younger talent. And they're doing okay.
The only guy that I'm really angry on the Lions defense is DeAndre Levy. I want clarity. If you're not going to play, let us know. If you are going to play, then get on the goddamn field.
The bye week hopefully will allow him to heal up and we can get him back effectively in the second half because that would be such a great addition.
Point,
and I get your anger. I get it.
I don't even want him back. I will roll with Tahir Whitehead and Josh Bynes and the what is it, the 5th rounder Antoine Williams. We're gonna get John Bostic back off of the injured reserve. So I don't even care at this point. If DeAndre Levy comes back and if he's actually able to contribute, that's great. At this point, I'm not even gonna factor him into this team because I just don't see it.
So in terms of a fan watching it week in, week out, are you okay with the fact that they're playing a lot of close games and a lot of times coming from behind?
It sucks, but I would love for them to just blow out teams. But in the end, I mean, it's football. I'm glad that they're not getting blown out. That's my only thing, and that's where my issue as a Spartan fan. They're getting blown out and they're losing to lesser teams. The Lions aren't necessarily disappointing me. They're playing good games. They're in these games. They're not necessarily super exciting where they're like throwing for 70-yard touchdowns, but they're doing stuff that I haven't seen, that they're moving the ball, that they're not the same old Lions where on 3rd and 8 that they throw like a 5-yard pass and it doesn't. You see on 3rd down that they're actually throwing the ball past the first down yardage. And there's even times in the game where Matthew Stafford was accurate and on 3rd down. And I remember Anquan Bolden just flat out, it went off his hands. It wasn't. It was thrown high, but it was right where he should have caught it.
Now, we give a lot of grief to Jim Caldwell for some of the mistakes he makes, but we have to give him praise for getting that 2 seconds back on the clock. We got to give him praise for keeping this collective group of talent together despite the myriad of injuries, despite the fact that, throughout some of these games, the officials have been god-awful. But
he gets credit for not sucking too bad?
Exactly, because what does everyone complain about? That he's a terrible in-game manager, that he should be fired. We have discussions and polls sometimes that do people root for the Lions to lose so they can get rid of him? Now, if this continues, people are starting to get a little bit worried and starting to message us a little bit like, what are the odds that Caldwell gets an extension? That's going to be yet to be seen according to how well the season finishes out, how well they've played, because when you look at the second half of the schedule, it's lighter at first. It gets real tough with matchups versus the Giants, the Packers, and the Cowboys. Not in that order, but you play those three teams the last 3 weeks of the season. So it's going to be tough. If you kind of play the win-loss game, it kind of shakes out to about 8-8, 9-7, depending on, where you slot them to, lose that game. But I expect them to win versus Jacksonville and Minnesota. I expect them to win, but I think that what you're going to see is how does this team improve the second half of the year? How do they respond to this bye week? And can they get to a point where they can win this division? Because it's there to be taken. The teams, Minnesota's crumbling. Green Bay isn't playing effectively. The Bears are, up and down. So the Lions have a real opportunity. People are going to be watching to see what Caldwell does. But you got to give him credit, is all I'm saying, in that this is a football team that could have gone south with the injuries that you've had. And you've seen it before. And with other teams, you could have lost players. You could have had. He runs a decent locker room. You can tell that collectively they play for each other. They play hard. But what we nitpick is the in-game strategies. The decisions that he makes in-game are oftentimes disadvantaged, are not to the Lions' advantage. And this game, he had a pretty decent game. It wasn't that bad.
And I think it's as simple as if they get in the playoffs, he's going to get an extension. If they don't get into the playoffs, he's not going to get an extension. And the reason for that is because this is going to be another season where the NFC North is essentially wide open. It was thought that the Vikings might have ran away with it, but we've seen in the past couple of weeks, and we just beat them, that they're not going to run away with it. The Packers, they aren't clicking, so they're not at full strength. And the Bears, they suck, even though everybody said that, oh, Jay Cutler's going to be better. Jay Cutler is not better. He's Jay freaking Cutler. Come on. The Bears aren't good. So this is going to be another year where if we don't make the playoffs or, contend for the actual division, then he needs to be gone. If he does get an extension after this year, not making the playoffs, it makes absolutely no sense.
And then also the reason why you'd give Caldwell more credit is that he's come out week in, week out after they come back and said, hey, listen, we prepared for this. I've done it before where I on the practice field have said there's 20 seconds left, no timeouts, go do your thing. It looks like they've prepared this. It's not like you just show up there and win 5 games coming from behind easily. You got to give him credit for preparing his team in those situations. He knows that they're going to play a lot of close games, and more often times than not now, they've come back and done some things.
Yeah, he prepares them, but then it's on him to then put them in the right situation. Yeah, they can prepare all they want for every in-game situation, but then you get the whole, oh, we thought it was going to be a pass back and forth. You didn't prepare for something like that?
Exactly. In terms of, but I do give him the benefit of the doubt in knowing that coaching an NFL game is quick, and he's an older dude, and you got to be fast paced. You got to be, and that's why they've brought in guys to kind of help with in-game stuff. Now, whether you agree with the decisions that are coming out of it, they are trying to help him. And but you got to remember, he is probably
such a lame excuse.
Listen, he's probably a really, really top-notch coordinator and a average to slightly below average head coach. But this is what we got. And so he's the guy, in charge, and it could be much worse, is all I'm saying. It could be worse. You got to give him credit because we do give him a lot of blame. All I'm saying is give him credit. At the bye week, we're 5-4. It's a football team that could be a lot worse. And it's a football team that I'm looking forward to at least watching game in, game out. I'm looking forward. It's a perfect time to take a break from the Lions. It's a perfect time to kind of do other things, get involved in the fall. But I'm looking forward to them destroying Jacksonville.
Now, I think one also thing you have to look at with this game is another guy, another week. He's brought us back from another fourth quarter deficit, and won the game.
Number 9.
Matthew Stafford. He won the game again. He's putting this team on his back. I was watching ESPN yesterday, and it was Ryan Clark and somebody else, and they said that he was in the top 5 of quarterbacks.
Woo-woo. It's nice to see.
In this league right now. Now, this obviously, I think there weren't some quarterbacks who have had past success in this top 5, but right now in this league, Matthew Stafford is playing like a top 5 quarterback.
Jason, my view is probably a little bit skewed, and
just look at this year, John.
Look at this year.
I'm not asking you to look at his past seasons, all of his past mistakes. I'm telling you to look at him right now.
Right now, he's running Jim Bob Cooter's offense flawlessly. Remember, he's got Marvin Jones, Golden Tate, a top 10 tight end, whether you agree that he should be there or not. He's got a running back that's playing well. They've gotten out some more talent on the offensive line. So collectively, see, I think what we do is we definitely give way too much blame when a quarterback doesn't play well, and we give way too much credit when a quarterback is doing well. And so what I would say is right now, collectively, the offense that is run by Jim Bob Cooter is being run by the best guy to run it, and that's Matthew Stafford. But if you look in game, I watch it and I go, my goodness, they're basically allowing him to quickly read and make decisions and throw the ball between 6 and 10 yards consistently. And that's what they're doing. They're just trying to try to make a patchwork running game, try to utilize the tight ends. They do try to make attempts to throw the ball deep, but it hasn't been effective because they don't do it enough. They do it in the third quarter, but a lot of times, 1st and 10, run the ball for 3 yards. Second down, short pass for another 2 or 3 yards. It's a very conservative offense that I believe they wouldn't be 5-4 with Orlovsky, but the offense would look the same if a different quarterback was in it. It's like they've changed him from Brett Favre to Alex Smith. Now you can debate, do you want him to be Alex Smith? And that's where he needs to be. I go with if you're going to pay him $200 million, I need him to be, or if you're going to pay him a lot of money, $25 million per, I need him to be more along the lines of like Drew Brees. Throw the ball more, have more production on the offense, and throw the ball a lot more all over the place.
No, I don't think he has as much as you say he does. He has Theo Riddick, who is a pass-catching running back, but he does not have a running game. Drew Brees has a running game. Mark Ingram is a very good running back.
That's an indictment on the lines. They need to get him a running back for sure.
So, Golden Tate, he's not really the deep threat. He is the guy who you throw at 5 yards and have him get you another 10. Marvin Jones is really right now our only real deep threat because Anquan Bolden is just for over the middle. Eric Ebron can't stay on the field. So we don't have that second deep threat to have one on either side and let the one guy stay in the middle, running the routes.
What I'm saying is that, I'm trying to judge him harshly in terms of how does he compare to Tom Brady? How does he compare to Drew Brees? How does he compare to the elite Super Bowl winning quarterbacks? How does he compare to Eli Manning? Now he's doing a lot more great things. He's changing plays up. He's audibling at the line of scrimmage. He's running this offense supremely. I give him a lot of credit. But again, 5-4 team. They have tailored an offense that suits his strengths. Now, there are a lot of other quarterbacks that can't.
Why should he be running an offense that he isn't suitable for?
But that's what I'm asking is that do you give him credit for being a dink and dunk kind of 5 to 10 yard passing quarterback?
But he still has the ability to throw it deep.
He has the ability, but lately, in the last couple of games, they've been covered and they haven't executed.
That's fine. He's still completing the passes.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't overthrowing guys by 10 yards. I'd rather him dink and dunk than throw deep passes to satisfy your need for a deep pass and overthrow them, 50% of the time.
Now, I could also argue that, it's the scheme. It's Jim Bob Cooter being conservative. But I believe that the reason why you throw it deep is to open up the running game a little bit because you want to run the football.
You don't have a running back, though. Theo Riddick isn't. He's okay in spots. If you're in the shotgun and then you run a draw, he can fall forward. Anybody can fall forward for 4 or 5 yards.
But I think the debate that a lot of people also tweeted us is that maybe they're not using the right mix. Theo Riddick is a guy that's great in the passing game. Why not using Zach Zenner a little bit more and see if he can do some things? He was running great, and he's been now since Washington's come back relegated to the bench. He hasn't been utilized enough. So you could argue that the running back situation is not being utilized properly. You can make that argument. But in terms of Matthew Stafford, I think that he does deserve a lot of credit for the fact that he's effectively running the offense that's presented in front of him. I'm just saying that I think in watching other quarterbacks perform and what they do, he still has room to grow.
Obviously, he still has room to grow, but I think right now, this season, he's at least in the top 10, and I think you could argue that he's in the top 5.
He's playing very well.
This season, the only quarterbacks that you could say are playing better than him are probably Tom Brady, Matt Ryan,
Drew Brees,
and
he's in the conversation.
Maybe Derek Carr.
He's in the conversation.
After that, it would be hard pressed not to put Matthew Stafford in the top 5.
Yeah, I believe fully, and I agree that if Stafford was on Dallas, they'd be probably 7-1 as well. With a solid running game, solid offensive line, he probably would look like that.
I'm not sure if they would be 7-1. I think if Stafford was on the Cowboys right now, I think they probably, because they had a rookie quarterback in so early, they were relying on Ezekiel Elliott, who was I thought he was a very polished running back coming in the NFL. And he's shown he's the number 1 rusher right now. So they have that offensive line. He hasn't had Des Bryant, so they haven't asked Dak Prescott to really do a lot. Their defense and their offensive line have really gotten them to this point of 7-1. If Matthew Stafford was on this team, they may have said, "Hey, push the ball a little bit more. Try to get it into the Cole Beasley and to Terrence Williams and to everybody else on that." And I think you'd still see the running back succeed, but maybe he's in the perfect system.
Listen, I'm fully committed to Stafford being the guy for the next decade. I'm not against it. I just say to myself, okay, he is being a little bit neutered. He is conservative, running a conservative offense. It works. It's helping. It's allowing this team to play in the last year a lot better. You can't deny the numbers. He's playing great. It's awesome. But now I just want to see him do it when the heat's turned up, because in the postseason, you're not going to be playing Jacksonville. You're not going to be playing Minnesota playing terrible defense. You're going to be playing cream of the crop. So I just wish that they were in a different division. That's all. Maybe playing in the AFC East, playing Miami, playing New England, playing the Jets. Play different competition, different type of talent, and see how he fits in. The North kind of doesn't allow for, right now, a solid assessment of what Matthew Stafford's doing. Well, but hey, take it. We'll take it.
I will take it. I'll take 5-4. As a couple of weeks ago, I said this team was going to be a 4-win team, and they've already exceeded those expectations. They've completely changed my outlook on the rest of this year, and I think you're allowed to do that as a fan. You're allowed to evolve your expectations.
Sure, of course.
So we'll have to wait and see.
But That's right. That's how it goes. We're talking today, and when you have to make an opinion today, it's okay a little bit. But hey, all you had to do was to prepare is listen to my podcast, the Doc and Jock podcast. Listen to just text me and ask me my opinions, because more often than not, they're right. That's all you got to do is text the Doc, and you will get an opinion that's pretty rational. I think I had him going. I think I started 10-6, and then I got affected by the media going, "This is a bad football team," so I tailored it back down to 8-8. But we'll see what happens, how it shakes out. But the Lions are, a tough watch a little bit due to the entertainment value. But hey, if they're going to win games and they're winning it that way, I'll take it all day. But it's a perfect time for a bye to kind of just not. I'm not even going to watch football on Sunday. I'm taking the wife out on a date. I'm going to be football free and hope for the best with my fantasy teams. But I did go, skillfully 3-0 last week in all my leagues.
Good for you, John.
In the league that I cared about the most, I got 0 points from my defense, Denver, which I knew in my heart was going to bomb versus Oakland on the road. I knew it, but I said, okay, based upon the early points that I scored, fine. I started 2 running backs that got a combined 1 point. Another running back of mine, the 4th running back that I have from San Francisco on the IR. 1 point from my running backs, 0 points from my defense, still dropped 115 points. Bada boom, baby. All skill.
Not skill. This was the league with Jason Witten, right?
Yeah, I picked up Jason Witten.
Luck.
You saw the score. Jason Witten.
Luck. Jason Witten is luck.
I was prepared. My opponent had Dak Prescott. I'm like, dude, why did this guy drop Jason Witten? He's been trending upward. You've seen if you look at his scoring, the last couple weeks, it's gone in the right direction. I put him in. Boom. Productive.
It's not luck. If anything, it's looking at the matchups.
And preparing. That's skill.
Okay, and it's still luck. He could have done that with any of the receivers. Cole Beasley could have had the same numbers as Jason Witten. it's at least 50% luck.
Okay.
And we're going to agree to disagree. I don't want to bring it back up. Let's just move on. We'll take a break, and then we'll talk about the shitty Michigan State Spartans and maybe something else. And that stupid mannequin challenge. Motor City Sports Rant, Detroit Sports Podcast Network.
Yes, sir, Jason. You're absolutely right. Everyone's listening on this fine platform to the Detroit Sports Podcast Network. We're a collection of Detroit sports podcasts that airs daily, dedicated to all things Detroit sports. I thank everybody that's been checking us out. I thank everybody that's made some of our podcasts some of the most listened to in town. It's greatly appreciated. Thank you to everybody that's been going to our website, DetroitSportsPodcast.com. It's the hub of the operation. You can go check out when the shows air, which show is dedicated to what sport. We got a collection of great podcast hosts who are dedicated, that say they're going to do a podcast, and they actually come in and execute, doing a good job. A lot of guys that are credentialed out there, watching the games, being involved, asking the coaches and players the key important questions. That's what makes our network fun, and I love coming in each and every day, turning on the lights, firing up the microphones, having conversations with the fellas, and we would do it off the air, but it's a great opportunity to just turn on the mics, have a conversation, watch some television, and enjoy it. It's all due in part to the support that we get from the listeners out there. For all the new subscribers on iTunes, anywhere at all, you can find a podcast. Just search Detroit Sports Podcast. Our network will pop up. Thank you very much. DetroitSportsPodcast.com.
Black Beatles in the city, be back immediately to confiscate the money.
Why is this sweeping the nation, Jason?
I don't know. We just did the mannequin challenge, everybody. You can't see it, but we just did it. We didn't move at all for that 15 seconds. I feel like we probably just messed that up because I think it's a video thing. It's not just you listen to somebody not move.
See, I can't run the board, be a host, watch Donald Trump vote for himself, and do the mannequin challenge. So, it was an epic fail. Oh, well, it happens. This is not a bad song, though. It's kind of... You listen to it?
I'm not a huge fan of the Ray Sherman. I don't like their sing-songy raps.
No?
Not a huge fan, but whatever. It's okay.
I never heard of them until the mannequin challenge, so that shows what I know.
There was one other song I remember that they had, and I wasn't a huge fan of that one either. But whatever.
Speaking of not being a huge fan, did you even invest to find the game versus Illinois on ESPN News? Go look at the destruction of, real football, watching what Michigan State's doing. Drop passes, each and every play, a new guy's getting hurt, ineffective play. Lots of situations where you go, oh my goodness, is this the same team that's coached by Mark Dantonio? I can be honest, I peeked into about all of 5 minutes of that game. I saw a couple plays that were disastrous. I seen poor technique. I just was like, this isn't the same team that won the Rose Bowl. This isn't the same team anywhere near that got to the playoff. The drop-off has been horrible. And to see what Michigan State's done and to come off now, as we sit today, 2-7, is really sad. And, when you watch shows on TV, when you get tweets, and a lot of them are, flooding in, fire Dantonio. We talked about it, but it's looking more and more like the conversation is a little bit more legit. I know people are, really have a strong opinion like, hey, you can't fire Dantonio. He's built a program. But when you make the mistakes at the level that he's made, he basically has flushed a lot of the success he's had down the toilet. Because right now, where they're at, you're going to lose in recruiting. You're going to lose a lot of momentum. He, really in the end, when Narduzzi left, he should have been more innovative and a little bit more, have more foresight into what's going on, because this season a transition year needs to be like 7-6 or 8-4. 2-7, losing to Maryland, Illinois in the same season, and you might lose to Rutgers. No. We gotta, turn up the heat a little bit on Coach Dantonio's seat.
I think it's a little too early to just, because I do think you have to give him at least one pass. He got us to the Rose Bowl, he got us to the Cotton Bowl, got us to the college football playoff.
He got 2012, 7-6.
I get it, but then he followed that up though with Rose Bowl, Cotton Bowl, college football playoff. So you give him this year, and then I need to see change next year. And like you said, for this Illinois game, I was in the happiest place on earth. I was at Disney World. I tuned in for probably a grand total of a minute and a half. I looked it up on my phone. I know. I saw it. I was like, well, I think we were up at the point, and I think I turned it on my phone and the Watch ESPN app, and I think I watched Illinois get a touchdown to go up. I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me. I turned it off, and then I kept enjoying my vacation, and I looked the next day to see if they won, and I was like, oh my God, they lost to Illinois. This season it's down the drain. There's no redemption. I mean, even if you manage to get a win against Ohio State or Penn State, it means absolutely nothing. So you really need to look towards next year, and what changes are you going to make? And next year, if they have a similar output, even if they need to really start coming back next year, they need to go back to 8-4, 9-3 next year. If you're looking at 6-7, 7-6, 5-8, then we're really in the conversation of Mark Dantonio is on the hot seat, and we can't just sit by and let him, because he has won so much and done so much for the program. We can't just give him a pass for that, and then we have to possibly move on from Mark Dantonio.
Yeah, see, I agree that Mark Dantonio has a lot of equity, as you would say, built up based upon the success that he's had.
Yeah, I think after last year, I would have said that Mark Dantonio could probably retire as the Michigan State Spartan coach if he wanted to, and it wouldn't even matter what the school wanted. He could just play. He could coach the rest of his career there and retire whenever he felt like it. Now, not so much.
Did you see my tweet from the Lansing State Journal?
I did not.
Rutgers, Michigan State. You know how much a ticket you can find now for on StubHub?
$10?
$5 to $6 in like row 8 in the stadium. $5 to $6. And
I mean, I wouldn't want to pay more than $5 to $6 to see Rutgers.
The headline was you can watch the Michigan State college football game at Spartan Stadium for the price less than the price of a movie.
I'll pay more for gas to get there.
Exactly. It's not worth it. People are like, people are having a hard time giving away the tickets. That's where it's gotten to this point. Michigan State, Rutgers. Seriously? And it's just one of those things where when you look at what's happened this year, you look at a myriad of factors. You can talk about the 2013 draft class. You can talk about the inconsistent coaching, the co-coordinators they got going on offense and defense. Mark Dantonio is paid $5 million a year. He is a highly paid individual. And when you have that high responsibility, you can't just say, well, you get a pass. Okay, you have to explore what the hell happened. This offseason is going to be very key. He has to go out there and really kind of retool the coordinators. He's got to blow everybody out, blow them out. A 2-7 season doesn't guarantee anybody to come back. You reassign some people, you go out and you find solid offensive coordinators, maybe on the national level, that even if it's maybe someone that might be your replacement, you got to go out there and spend the money and get guys to, because here's what's happened. Last year when Harbaugh was hired, Dantonio was keeping the train going, 70 whatever miles an hour or smooth sailing. Michigan kind of crept up along. All of a sudden, Michigan State holds on barely to the victory last year, and the train's still a little bit behind. But you know what's happened this year? Dude, Jim Harbaugh and that Michigan program have put the pedal to the metal, and the train has zoomed by our train. And right now we're looking at the dust that's left by Jim Harbaugh. And if you don't catch up quickly and stay on the same level as Michigan, right now you're getting hype to the levels that I've never, ever seen with Michigan. You're seeing the maize and blue all over the place. The Block M is being represented again. Michigan's 9-0, and they're destroying people. You're struggling to score 20 against these teams, and Michigan scoring 5 touchdowns in a game consecutively, and with a guy named Wilton Speight. So that indicates a certain level of coaching, a certain level of a philosophy that it makes me a little bit jealous. No doubt about it, because what Dantonio built, which I enjoyed, was a little bit more like what the Lions do. Grind it out, a lot of come from behind wins, not a lot of destructive games. Whereas what Michigan's doing with Jim Harbaugh, they're going out there and destroying teams. And they might even get to the college football playoff one year after us, the way they're playing, because Ohio State doesn't look infallible. They don't look like they're indestructible. And Jim Harbaugh's got this program to the level where in 2 years, gotten them to a point where you're starting to wonder if they have a fall off, can they just take any quarterback and just make them do this? And so Mark Dantonio needs to, put the pedal to the metal and get with the times.
Yeah, and I think we both agree that it's all
sad, man. It's sad.
It's all going to depend on what he does in this offseason, and if they switch up the offense, if they're able to retool on defense. There's problems on both sides. I think on offense, we're just too vanilla. We don't have innovative play calling. And on defense, I think you have a ton of young guys, nobody who can really make tackles. That's why we are losing to teams like Illinois.
And I might make an argument that this season might be the best thing that ever happened to the Michigan State program. And here's why. When you have success with the philosophy that you have, and you start seeing, okay, I'm going to be a defensive team, we're going to play close, we're going to smash mouth football, and you start winning the Rose Bowl, you start getting to the Cotton Bowl, you get to the college football playoff. That loss to Alabama should have been a marquee moment that, whoa, on the biggest stage, we're not there. He comes back and still tries to run the same program, run the football, smash mouth defense. Now, this has blown up in his face, and it's a national embarrassment, going from where you were last year to this year. This might be a good thing for Michigan State in that now Dantonio is forced to go, oh, now he's got to pick apart that offense. He's got to pick apart that defense. And I hope that he looks at the situation and goes, how do I get to the level so that we not just get back to the college football playoff? How do we build a team to win it all? How do we build an Alabama-type team that can go out there in one season and go 12-0 and win it all? And that might involve going out there and getting a top quarterback in the entire country, maybe retooling your offensive scheme a little bit to air it out. Maybe you add a little bit of a different type of defender that you're going to recruit, and maybe this will turn it around, because when you go 2-7, you lose 7 straight, it's time to explore and pick apart, and it might be good because, he might have been willing to roll this out for the next 10 years, and now he's forced to change. He has to evolve. Do you think Mark Dantonio will evolve, or more of the same going forward, just getting with more talent?
I mean, as a Spartan fan, I gotta hope that he's gonna evolve, because if he doesn't, then that means we're stuck in the same place that we are, and we're gonna continue to lose, and we're gonna have to just completely blow up the team and start over with a new coach.
And the other factor that you got to remember is not only now do you got to compete with Michigan and Jim Harbaugh, Urban Meyer ain't slowing down. That dude is going to put the pedal to the metal, and he might be a little bit shady.
It's always been Michigan and Ohio State, though.
Yeah, this year it plays out that, Big Two and the rest.
So, I mean, and to talk a little, I don't think there's really much more we can talk about Michigan State. It's sad and depressing, and we got to hope.
One more question. Do we beat Rutgers?
I don't know.
Yeah, it was embarrassing.
Right now, I think the line is we're favored by 14, and I think if we do win, we're not going to cover that spread. No. So I would take Rutgers with the points.
I think it's noon on Saturday.
It is
noon Saturday.
But going over to the other team, the Amarillo and Blue, Michigan 9-0, going into Iowa in a night game. And I know right now, I think the line is 21.5 for Michigan. And I see no reason why they don't cover that.
Yeah, they're playing unbelievable.
I think Iowa is they had their 1 year last year. That's what Iowa does. And Iowa, even though they're 5-4, they're not that good of a team. Mm-hmm. I think Michigan is going to go in there and embarrass them. I think they probably win by at least 3 or 4 touchdowns.
Yeah, Michigan games. Do you like it like that? I mean, now we're looking at two extremes, and it's a perfect segue to kind of tail off and end the podcast. We started talking about the Lions, who grind it out, and it's tough to watch through 3 quarters. They come back. And then you got Michigan on the complete opposite end, where they start the game, and it's touchdown, field goal, touchdown. Offensive production galore. They're playing great. Do you like scores like 59-3 with the football team? You like that, right?
I want that. I said that before.
But there's not really any intrigue. They show up, they score.
There's no intrigue.
It's entertaining, right?
What it is that's what championship football is.
It looks good, right?
That's what you see Alabama, Oregon in the past. You see the teams run it up on the less than teams. That's what I said. The Michigan State has never done that. They've never been that team to just run it up on the cupcake opponents. That's a sign that you have a championship caliber team. So if my teams that I love do that, I would still watch them. I might tune out maybe at the end because they're up by so much, but I don't care. Get the win.
And win big, win bigly. That's just the best way. We're going to win. We're going to win so big. And that's a great philosophy, man. It's fun to watch. I like it. I enjoy it. I don't root for, like, it would be nice if Michigan maybe versus Iowa was maybe down 7, and if they were going to come back and win to kind of show some mettle, see what they got, because they needed. I think the Michigan State game was enough of a test for them to kind of carry them through. They were scared a little bit. I'd like to see them scared a little bit more and see how they handle adversity, because I think it's going to take every ounce of their success and performance to play that well on the road. On the road, in Columbus versus Ohio State.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be the one game that you're going to look at for this Michigan team, is they're going to go undefeated into Ohio State, and what do they do there? If they get the win, they're probably going to be going to the college football playoff.
Oh, yeah, no doubt about it. Well, if you're going to root, as Sparty fans, I'd rather have them get to the Big Ten title game, maybe versus whoever coming from the West, and lose. That would be an interesting question. Do you still put them in there?
I will never root for Michigan to win. So
yeah, that'd be awesome, wouldn't it?
I'm going to root for them to lose the rest of their games.
Yeah.
But realistically, they're not going to lose those games. The one game that's going to be the test that I don't know who's going to win is going to be Ohio State.
That's going to be. It's looking more and more like it's going to probably be a little bit of a higher scoring game, and it's going to be a situation where I think it's going to be a fourth quarter game. Who makes the key play late? And I think Michigan has a couple of defenders that can make that play. So I'm thinking right now Michigan has the edge going into that matchup.
I'd say Michigan has the edge too. Because really the one thing that they need to do is shut down JT Barrett. And if Jabril Peppers wanted to have a statement game, that's the game. Go out, sack Jabril Peppers, pick him off, and then I will actually say that Jabril Peppers deserves a Heisman.
Now, before we get out of here, make sure Saturday a marquee event is probably going to happen, something that you should watch. NBC, 11:30 p.m., Saturday Night Live. For the first time ever, Dave Chappelle will be hosting it. I will be watching. I'm going to try to get in front of the TV. I think it's going to be funny. I hope he does not get conservative and he just lets it all hang out, because that dude's funny, sarcastic, witty, and just a little bit on the crazy side, just enough to really be a super solid comedian and make that show probably is going to be one of the top rated shows they've ever had. And I'm excited to watch it. Dave Chappelle is the man. Whenever, stress gets too much or I'm just need a laugh, the Chappelle Show, season 1, season 2, the Rick James skits, the other skits and characters that he created, always a laugh. Even 5 to 10 years later, the Chappelle Show, one of the top shows on TV. He's a funny dude.
I'll check it out. But that's going to do it for this episode of the Motor City Sports Rant. Until next time, he's John Macaroon. I am Jason Jarvie. Later.
Okay, nice idiot. You. Bye-bye.
Good day, sir. I said good day.
All right. Take care now. Bye-bye then.
Loser.